This is my 2.5 time filming this video. How did you get to a 0.5, you might ask? I started filming yesterday. It's so echoey in here. I need my mic. Okay, hopefully this is better and you're not hearing all the echoing. So I started filming yesterday and my camera just stopped filming. I don't know why. I thought my storage was full. It's not. So it got 1 minute and 13 seconds in and stopped. I didn't realize it stopped and I kept talking, but thankfully I didn't quite make it to the end before I realized it. We don't have a lot to talk about in the first half of the video, so that's fine. Then I refilmed it and I was going out yesterday, so I did all the hair and makeup and it was looking great. The curls were curling, the makeup was doing all the things, everything looked great. And unfortunately, we've had some really dreary weather, so the lighting hasn't been the greatest. I had my overhead light on and it was doing that like flickering thing when I played it back just a couple minutes ago. So I'm actually on my lunch. I'm working from home today and I'm on my lunch, so I gotta make this snappy. I already filmed the second half of this video, which is the decks that I'm gonna be using in winter. And that's just because I don't have a lot of updating to do for November. So I thought I would just tack on a little bonus of what decks I'm gonna be using throughout the winter. So that'll be coming up after. And the reason I'm filming this on my lunch and not just filming it on a different day is because I do have a video planned for at some point in December. I'll be posting it and I'm so excited. I came up with this idea not last night but the night before. I don't think anyone's done it before, and it is another Tarot Excel related video. I'm still going to do the Only 10 mass market. That's still in the works. I'm just super lazy with it. But this one's so much fun and it does have to be posted in December. You'll see why. It should actually probably already be posted, but I'm not ready to post it. I'm still collecting the stats on it. And I don't know at what point I should stop and just do it. So it will be coming out in the next week or two. So that's why I wanted to get this one up and posted so that they weren't coming out like all at the same time. Not that that matters, but whatever. So if my hair looks greasy, it's because it is. I have an oil treatment in. I do an oil treatment on my hair when I'm working from home, and I'm not wearing any eye makeup because like 7 eyelashes fell out yesterday when I was taking my makeup off and it scared me. So we're not putting on any makeup for a while. This is real life, folks, real life. All right, November. I have to remember. Let's review the notes. November is actually my 3-year tarot anniversary. So I took my tarot level 1 in November of 2020. So I've been working on the tarot for 3 years, which is super cool. I'm the kind of person that if I decide I want to do a hobby, I will spend all of the money and buy all of the things and work on it religiously for 2 weeks and then abort mission and not want to do it anymore. So 3 years is really good for me. I'm still very much a student. I'm still very much a beginner. I will always be a beginner. I know I'm not going to be that person that does profound tarot readings. It's just not going to be me. I'm too literal with the cards. I'm too literal with the meanings, but I'm having fun and it's given me something to learn, something to read about, you know, something to look forward to when buying a deck, which probably, you know, I should work on why that happens, but we're fine. We're all fine. We're okay. So I did a 3-year, I made it to 3 years. Here we are, 3 years. I don't know when I started my YouTube channel, but maybe that's another anniversary I can play around with. So that was the biggest thing for November, celebratory wise. I also went to see Ludacris, which has no business being in this video, but my high school self was having the time of my life listening to, he did all of the older songs like from when I was in high school. So it was a great time. So any Ludacris fans out there, I feel you. We're excited. Okay. Now I really just get into the decks I bought. What did I read? Oh, I'm still down the rabbit hole of the A Court of Flames ACOTAR, whatever it is. Now I can't think of it. I'm still reading those. I actually started rereading it from the very beginning, from the first book, because I went through the first 3 books so quickly that I was like, I want to savor this and enjoy it. So I actually started watching the YouTube one again. I can't remember if I mentioned that in my October video. I can't remember when I started doing that, but yeah, so I'm still very much down that rabbit hole. Still have not picked up Phantasmagoria, so that's fine. We're okay with that. Now we'll get to the decks that I bought or didn't buy, and then we'll jump into the winter deck segment. I saw the Mythos Tarot get posted, and immediately in my head I was like, I want it, I'm buying it. And then I thought, wait a sec, just wait. And I'm glad I did, because I am still on the fence about it. It's not a cheap one, it's like 50 bucks. I love it, I think it's beautiful, but part of me is like, do I want a deck where it's just faces? Every single card is just a face. There's nothing scenic going on in the cards. And yes, you can relate the Greek god to the meaning of the card. Well, I guess you're supposed to, depending on how you think those things jive in a particular deck. But I don't know. I do enjoy my scenic pips. I do. Or my scenic minors. So that was a bit, I'm still unsure. And it is so beautiful. It's very pretty. Part of me loves the fact that it's really pretty, and part of me hates the fact that it's really pretty. I'm always like struggling to balance pretty things. Like, I hate pink. I hate pink things, but I buy pink things all the time. Like, what's happening in my brain? I either like it or I don't, but I can't quite seem to come to an agreement with myself on it. So also, I wasn't sure if it's AI, if the art is AI or not. I don't think it is, but I can't find anywhere where it says yes or no. Also, what made me think it's AI is there's a couple cards that remind me of celebrities. And I know that AI pulls from like things on the internet. So like there's a Kardashian one in there. Ugh, no hate, but the Kardashians are not for me. I cannot do the Kardashians. So that one card alone kind of annoyed me. There's one that looks like Angelina Jolie. There's a couple male actors in there too. So that's kind of what makes me think it looks like AI maybe had something to do with it. It dipped its toes in a little, I don't know. So I didn't buy it. And as of right now, I'm kind of like 30% wanting it and 70% not wanting it. So I'm gonna leave it. If it's not an F yes, it's a no. So that's a deck I did not buy. It's pretty though. Okay, decks I did buy. What order do I want to do this in? So this was a Thea inspired moment. She had a video where she was talking about this deck, and I've heard of this deck, but I've never looked into it. I've never looked at any walkthroughs. I've never even looked it up on the internet to see the prices or anything. And it's the Heaven and Earth. I got the box set. So this, while Thea was doing the video, I paused it and went to Amazon, saw this, and it was 50% off. So it was $50. Obviously with 50% off, it is $25. And it was the box set, which I hate these boxes. I hate having to store these boxes. I hate that the books are so much bigger than the deck, so you kind of got to store them separately. So I didn't love that this was the option that I ended up with, but I kind of thought there'd be more information in the book, so that's why I wanted to get the bigger book. Spoiler alert, I don't think that there is. I mean, at least not about the symbols on the cards. There might be more information in different sections, I don't know, but the symbols on the cards are not talked about like at all. They have a correspondence and the Hebrew letter, but it doesn't talk about anything else. It doesn't talk about what those mean, whatever. So the reason why I decided to buy it was because it has the Hermetic titles, and I've had the Hermetic Tarot on my wish list for a really long time, but it's a black and white deck that just, there is so much information on every card when you see it, like so much. And so much so that it kind of overwhelms me. Maybe one day I'll have it in my collection when I'm feeling ready, and I don't know. But in the meantime, this is what we have. This is what I've got going on. One thing I will say, so you can kind of see these little dog-eared type corners. So this book for me, now I've got to find an example. I started doing it and then I stopped because I wanted to show the people what I was dealing with. Look at what's happening. The pages like aren't cut. So this is actually a rather big one. Like that's probably more than a centimeter long. So I was just pulling them. Now that was a huge one. I didn't pull something that big. And yeah, that's what ended up happening was these like corners. It's fine, it's fine. So I'm gonna have to go through with scissors or something for a cleaner cut on the other ones. I'm not gonna show the deck because A, I didn't bring it down into this better lit space. B, you may or may not see it in 5 minutes. So that was one deck that I bought. I'm looking forward to learning the Hermetic titles and seeing how they kind of change how I think about certain cards. I did a pull with it last night. Yeah, I did a week ahead spread with this deck last night. And it was really interesting seeing the Hermetic titles and seeing how it kind of changes my opinion of that card. I think, I pulled one of them, Success Unfulfilled is the Hermetic title, I think. And I was like, ooh, it just makes you, it just gets the different juices flowing. Another deck that I bought, so I bought 2 in November. I received a third, which was paid for in March. You can probably guess what that was. But I ended up with this guy. I found it at a metaphysical store the day I went to the Ludacris concert, actually. We went to the little town ahead of time and did some shopping, found it. The reason why that's a big deal is because on Amazon, for Canadians, this deck is $75 Canadian. Which is ridiculous. Disgusting. And that's US games. That's US games for you. But what I don't understand is that the smaller version is like $27-ish Canadian. So that's like kind of on par-ish. I mean, it's not, because I know Americans aren't paying that same converted rate. They probably pay less than that, but better than $75 for the big guy. So I found this in a, like I said, in an actual store, metaphysical shop for 52 or 53 Canadian, which is still an insane amount of money to pay for a mass market deck. That's so basic. It's not, there's nothing special, but I was happy. So I wanted the big deck because, big deck energy, because I want to study all the things and I want to be able to see everything that's happening. And I just felt like I would be doing the deck and myself a disservice by only using the smaller version. I don't know if I'll ever read with this size because it is rather large and a little bit trickier for me to shuffle. I'm not a big deck energy person. I don't like my decks to be too big. Oh, this conversation's great. But yeah, for this purpose, I'm going to learn with this one. And I think once I start reading with Thoth, I will probably purchase the smaller version and use that to read with. But this is going to be my study, baby. This is going to be the deck I use to study with. And I don't know when I'm going to start. I tried to start now, but here's what happened. I don't know what Thoth book to get. Help me. Help me. People are so opinionated about what the best first Thoth book to start with is. That I got overwhelmed and stopped. So I know that they say like the Aleister Crowley book is probably the best one to start with, but a lot of people have said you have no idea what you're reading when you read it. They said it'll make sense later. So one YouTuber actually said, he said, start with that book. You're not going to understand it. Then move on to this book. Then go back and read the first one again and you'll be like, oh my God, but like, why am I reading that first book twice? Why wouldn't I just read the other one first and then the Aleister Crowley one second and then be like, yes, I get this. So I'm really torn. There's like 4 or 5 that I don't even want to talk about them because I don't want to like plant the seeds. I want you guys to tell me which one I should start with. And then once I figure that out, I'll start reading Thoth. Maybe. I'll start studying Thoth. Let's start with the basics. So I was kind of really excited to get this deck. It's not a big deal for a lot of people because it's like just like a plaid back RWS, but it's a big deal for a Canadian who did not want to pay $75 for it. So I finally have this in my uneducated hands. A little overwhelming, again, kind of like the Hermetic Tarot. I feel like this is less overwhelming than the Hermetic one. We'll see, time will tell. So far, I'm overwhelmed by which book to start with, so maybe that's my answer right there. Next and last, the book that came into my possession, or what are we talking about? Tarot decks. The tarot deck that came into my possession in November. In case you didn't guess it, it's the Bohemian Gothic. I finally got it. This was kind of a big deal for me because when I discovered TarotTube, I saw people using this deck and I was like, I must know, I must own that deck. And I paused the YouTube videos and I did the research, and then I saw that, guess what? It's out of print. So I actually stopped watching all the YouTube videos because I didn't want to have FOMO and I didn't want to be sad about not owning a deck that's no longer in print. So I stopped watching them. I didn't really pay attention. So I don't know this deck very well. I know a few cards, and the cards that I've seen, I just adore. So I don't know what they've changed. I don't know what they did different. I got the regular version. I did not get the limited edition because big deck. It's a big deck. And I don't want a big one like that. I like the backs on the bigger version, but I like these ones better. So I like the backs better, and it's just smaller. I did not get the guidebook because I'm cheap. But so one thing I was concerned about was the cold stamping. This lighting, the camera's actually picking it up very well. But I was worried about the cold stamping and reading this in certain lights. Like, can you tell that's a crocodile at the top if the light hits it a weird way? No, not really. However, I understand that cold stamping helps against illegal copying of this deck. So I am here for it. I support that. I wouldn't want my stuff being illegally stolen. So, well, stealing is illegal. I wouldn't want my stuff to be stolen. So yeah, have at her. Go for it. Cold stamp all you want. So I was going through, I should have had these cards prepared, especially because I am on my lunch, which is ticking away. Give me a second. Let me see if I can go through these really quickly and find the ones I want to talk about. Okay, I only was able to grab a few because, like I said, my time is running out. But one of the reasons why I wanted this deck was because there are some facial expressions on this deck that really, it makes me think, like, it makes me feel like I have a personal relationship with some of the people, and they're giving you like that knowing look. And this one is the perfect example. This one is probably the best example out of all of them. Like, there's even some that have like kids in them. Oh, damn, that's another one I wanted to show you. Okay, I've got to find it. I can't. I'm rushing, trying to find it, and now I can't find it. I think I may have found it. No, that can't be it. But there's one card that looks like Renesmee. The way that they did the baby, it looks like Renesmee. So, okay, I can't pick these cards up off the floor with my nails. This baby looks like Mini-Me from the Austin Powers movies. But that's not where I was going at all with what I was saying. Like, it's in the Sun card. That baby's cute. Little kid, where it feels like a knowing glance. It feels like you know these people and you have a little secret with them, especially this one. Like, she's doing something secretive. You know she's doing something secretive, and she knows that you know. Like, I don't know. Some of the facial expressions I think are hilarious. However, I did find a couple other ones that I wanted to discuss. So I think it's pretty, I know that they made changes to some of the cards, and over the years they've made changes to some of the cards. This one, I think, was a change that they made specifically to this version. And so here we have the Wolfman and this lady. She looks, you know, she's not crisp and clean. She's kind of like airbrushed, fuzzy. He's crisp and clean. Like, this doesn't match this. So that was something that I was kind of like, oh, like, I didn't really like that. I didn't like that you can kind of pick out what's been edited over the years. Like, they clearly, and maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but you can't tell me I'm not wrong in the fact that it doesn't match. Like, yeah, it looks like that's a photo and someone photoshopped a more modern wolf into it. So that's one example. Another example is, this one's kind of funny. So here we have this knight, but his face, it just doesn't match the rest of it. Like, I don't know, like his eyes are too detailed or something compared to the rest. I don't know what to think. And then this is another example. So this one, I don't know if they changed for this version or not, but like, look how crisp the image is around his face with his glasses, and then how not crisp the rest of the image is. So I think, you know, that's something that over the years, those are the parts that they've updated. And because they've been updated, they do take on a more crisp look. I could be totally wrong, except with the Wolfman. I know that they updated his face. But to me, it's worth it. One of the reasons why I wanted this deck, when they announced that they were releasing it again, and probably for the last time, I was like, I'm getting it. I'm so getting that deck. I'm going to own that deck. Then when it actually came out and it came time to press pay, I was like, do I really want this deck? Like, I feel like it's one of those things, I've wanted it for so long and it's been this unicorn for so long that now that it's finally here, I'm like, do I really want it? And ultimately, I obviously went with yes, because I feel like, you know, a couple years from now, I might regret not buying it. I've done a couple readings with it. Unfortunately, it arrived after Halloween, which was also terrible timing. I feel like the pre-order should have happened so that it arrived in September. That would have been so much better. But I understand they can't control these things sometimes, and whatever. It is what it is. But so I have used it a couple times and I've enjoyed it. It is bigger cardstock, which I don't love, and thank God I didn't go with the limited edition because that would not have been fun. But yeah, that's it. I have to go back to work. So enjoy the winter decks, and I will see you in a week or two for my new statistically amazing tarot video coming out. Okay, let's take a look at the decks I plan on using for the winter months, like the colder, more drab, dreary weather months. We're going to start with the obvious. We got the Kim Krans family. These ones I think are really obvious just because they have that white background with the little splash of colors, so they're not full black and white, but there is a little bit of color happening in here. And a theme for the next few decks is going to be that white background. And it just kind of pulls up, you know, the white backdrop of the snow imagery. These decks, I have them in the mini and in the regular version. My plan was to get rid of the regular versions once I got the minis in, but I just can't do it. So yeah, these are going to get some use. The one thing I will say, I love the Animal Spirit Oracle by Kim Krans. Love it. But it's frustrating because I constantly have to refer to the guidebook with this one. There's no keywords. I mean, this is not new. We're all very familiar with this. So I would get way more use out of it throughout the year if it had the keywords. And the tarot deck, I use it throughout the year, but I tend to feel more gravitated towards it this time of year, just with like that white snowy backdrop. More Kim Krans fam. This deck, so this one for me is a bit tricky. Obviously we've got the black, white, and gray background, very snow time of year-esque. And then we've got the white background with the splash of color. This one, I don't work well with this deck. And it's really just me because I don't have a great understanding of archetypes. The guidebook, you know, when I was going through walkthroughs about this deck, everyone was talking about the guidebook and how great it is. I'm sure it is. If your headspace is able to grasp this concept, the archetype concept, and mine is not. I have no shame in admitting that this oftentimes is just, it's not something I'm well versed in. You know, I don't know anything about Carl Jung's work. I don't know anything about archetypes really, besides like the basic, like the crone, okay, old wise lady, sure. But that's, you know, as in-depth as my archetype knowledge goes. And there's some that you can absolutely use your own, not even imagination. It's not even about imagination. It's just logic. But yeah, there's some like this, I don't know. This one is hilarious. Like you could definitely pull something from that. Same with this, but there's a lot. that I got work to do, guys. I got work to do. So hopefully these winter months will kind of, you know, with the craving of wanting to use this type of deck aesthetically, will kind of force me into working with it and learning more about it. And definitely working more with the guidebook. I definitely need to, oh my God, nails, guys. I need to get more familiar with the guidebook. Oh my God, that's embarrassing. I'm not normally a nail person, but I was growing them out for my Halloween costume, and then because it took so long to grow them out, I was like, well, let's just run with it for the festive season. And now I have to like type and pick up tarot cards, and it sucks. Next, another obvious choice, Seasons of the Witch, Yule Oracle. This one, when I first got this deck, I used it throughout the year. It was my first one that I got, I believe. Nope, the Samhain was. I lied. So it was the second one that I got, as it was for all of us probably. So I was kind of using it. I really like the messages. The guidebook is great. Now more so, it's just kind of this time of year. More just gets use out of this time of year, and that's fine. That's cool. This is an obvious one. Again, we don't need to spend too much time on it. We're all doing it. Let's get through a couple that kind of bleed from the fall season into the winter season. The Marigold is one of them. This is a deck that I use around Samhain frequently, just because it gives me those Samhain vibes. But also the black, the white, the gold, it gives me dark time of year vibes. 100%. So this one probably won't get a lot of use just because we are kind of like, it's kind of bridging, I think. It's bridging the seasons. But it's there, it's here, it's ready to go if I want to use it. It hasn't been put in the cupboard yet. So it's another one that I've talked about recently, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. Oh, this cardstock though is, can you see that linen? Chef's kiss. And next is kind of the same vibe. I actually don't think I talked about this one in any kind of fall deck usage video. It's the Divine Feminine by Kokorina. And this is the same logic. This one I don't tend to use Samhain time of year, but it is kind of like just the aesthetics, the color. It gives me like November vibes. Like the black with the gold and the yellow, like yellowing leaves, oranging leaves. It definitely gives me November, early December vibes. So this one has got used a couple times around the end of November. And like I said, it's going to go into December, and you know, the stars and the sparklies, that also gives me December, early January vibes, like Christmas, New Year's vibes. So this is another one that I tend to pull out more so this time of year. This is an all year reader for me. This one is like my absolute truth teller in like a kinder way than the Dark Mansion, because I've talked about how the Dark Mansion is a little bit cheeky with me in a truthful way. This one is more just matter of fact, and yeah, it gets used more, I find, in November, December, and early January, again with the stars. Stars, New Year's, sparkly, shiny, pretty things. So that's another one that we have. I just realized I forgot to take one out of the desk, so we're gonna do that. This one is kind of follows the same logic as the previous two. The Intuitive Night Goddess, Starry Night. It gets dark super early this time of year, so we get to look at these beautiful stars at 4:30 p.m. Yeah, so black and white, black background, white border, white stars, black and white wording. And this deck is my new moon deck, the Dark Moon deck. I use it for all of my new moon readings, so it gets used throughout the year as well. But again, now is its time to shine. So this one will probably be in use until the days start to, well, technically the days start to get longer after December 21st, which is like super soon. But they stay a little dark for a while. So this will get used probably into, I'd say February, if not even early March, because it kind of also has spring vibes with the florals. So it can bridge between late winter, early spring as well pretty nicely, I find. So that's another one that we'll bust out. Let's go with this one. It's not obvious at all. In fact, it's probably more Halloween vibes than anything else, but it's my HP Tarot. And again, going with our theme, it's a black and white deck. So the creator has a newer version of this deck that's been out for a while. I have been so tempted to buy it strictly because it's not glossy, it's a matte. The backs are different. I like the backs on the new one, but I also really like these backs. They're not reversible, but that's fine. Don't really care. Yeah, and she frequently has sales, so if you're interested, Paper de Lune on Etsy. Yeah, black and white. And, you know, there are a lot of Harry Potter scenes that are shot in the winter, like around Christmas. So I can very easily watch Harry Potter this time of year, and I can very easily get into the Harry Potter vibes. Like them eating dinner in the hall always gives me like festive vibes, like Thanksgiving, Christmas. It kind of gives me those vibes. So this is a deck that I can absolutely use in the darker months, just because it works for me personally to use in the darker months. I don't typically use this all year round. I do have the Push Kitty version, which is the more colorful, more cartoony one. That one, I don't have a particular use for that version of the Harry Potter Tarot. It just kind of gets used when I'm feeling it. It probably does get used more so around Halloween, but I'm a all year round Harry Potter fan, so they kind of don't really have a limit. All right, next, this one is gonna look familiar because we just discussed it. The Heaven and Earth Tarot. So this one, I don't know, it doesn't really give me Halloween vibes. It gives me just dreary vibes, very gray, very foggy kind of looking. I got stuck driving in the fog last night and it looked just like this. So yeah, this gives me dreary time of year vibes. And also it's brand new to me, so it's gonna get some use because I feel like now is an appropriate time to use it, first of all, and it's new, so it works. Yeah, like even just going through these, I'm not really getting spooky season vibes. Maybe this one's slightly just dreary. Like I don't know if I'll use this in the summer. I really don't. This deck is probably the only tarot deck I have that gives me Christmas vibes. And it's the John Bower Tarot. This one is, I was gonna say it's new to my collection. It's not. I bought it last Christmas season. I've hardly used it. I specifically purchased it to use for Christmas time. These two colors, I mean, separately, don't mind them. Together, a little pukey. It's kind of weird. But yeah, so this is the deck that gives me Christmas vibes. And I think, so there's a story about this little boy. I don't know if his story is Christmas related or not, or wintertime related. There he is again. And then there's the story of, I don't know if this is part of her story, but this little girl here, which I started to read about because I wanted to be able to relate the story, I think it's Swedish, I could be wrong, the story to the actual meaning of the tarot card. And like, that's Yuli. That's Yuli if I say so myself. And I started to read it, and first of all, it's really freaking sad. Secondly, I'm not sure I was able to connect some of the card meanings. Like I got to the part where she's walking in the forest with the moose. And there's a few of those in here. But yeah, I was like, ooh, this might be a mistake for me to read this because I might now associate those scenes with that part of the story, which kind of doesn't jive up with whatever tarot card they've associated that with. There's one. So I stopped reading it. This deck also kind of gives me ever so slightly the Brian Froud Fairies Oracle vibes. But yes, the green, the sagey kind of green, the different green with the letterings, like those aren't snowflakes, but like they give snowflake vibes. So yes, this one gets used around Christmas. This is what my grandma's house looks like if you've seen any of my photos that I've posted. And we go to my grandma's house for Christmas. So this is just too perfect. This is going to be the one that gets used around Christmas for me. A Lenormand. This is the only Lenormand, and I only had that one oracle on the list, so my collection is hurting for oracles around this time of year. But we have the Aurum Lenormand. This one has not got a lot of use from me because I'm still working on my Lenormand knowledge, but I'm getting better. So this, what did I purchase this off of? Kickstarter, I think, on her last campaign. I love the story behind it about the cracks. What is the name of, is it Japanese pottery? Hold the line. Oh dear, I am going to butcher this. Kintsugi? It's repairing something and rendering it even more beautiful by filling cracks in pottery with like gold paint, instead of trying to hide them, like fully embracing them. So I love that. This creator is also pretty close to me, so I like supporting local. But surprise, surprise, we have the black and gray, or sorry, white and gray happening. I guess, well, that's technically gray. I don't know that there is actually full-on black. Yep, but that's what we're working with. No surprise here for my logic. Like that's a total winter scene. So when I feel the need to pull out Lenormand, which I haven't in a little while, this is going to be the one I use. Let's get some use out of it. Let's get it going. Stunning deck. I love it. I'm so glad I bought it. I bought it before I knew anything about Lenormand, but I was like, one day I will. So I bought it. All right, I think we're getting down, yes, to the final two. Next deck is new to me. When did it come in? I can't remember when this deck came in. It was a Kickstarter, and I have not used it since it came in because it came in around the Samhain season, and this deck does not give me Samhain vibes at all. So I haven't really used it, and I'm looking forward to starting to. It's the Lillifer Gold Edition. So here's the backs. Yeah, very not Samhain at all. This will bridge nicely into spring. So this deck will probably be used from now through to spring and in summer. It's a good summer deck as well. But we got the white background. I feel like I'm pretty predictable with the decks that I'm going to be using for winter. Yeah, really looking forward to using this deck. The cardstock, oh, I'm obsessed. I don't think I have a deck quite like this cardstock. It does kind of like feel thin and flimsy, but sturdy at the same time. Like I'm not afraid that I'm gonna do something bad to it. But yeah, it's got this pop of color, and it's more than a pop. I would say the Wild Unknown is a pop of color. This has way more color, and I like that about it. I like that it's got the white background, but still has a lot of color going on. And for me, like sometimes I'll actually use the Lightseers Tarot in winter because I'm sick and tired of the drab dreary. Like I want to have the fun summer vibes to look forward to and fun summer colors in a reading. So sometimes I use the Lightseers in the middle of winter. This one is kind of like the best of both worlds. We've got the white background, we've got the color, we've got the gold for the festive holiday time. I think it's totally perfect for this time of year. And then, like I said, bridging into spring and then even in summer. Just not really a fall deck for me, which is when I got it. So I'm really looking forward to working with it and finally getting to know each other. And lastly, this one is a personal choice. In fact, it's not going to be a choice that anyone, like, I don't think anyone else would pick this deck for their winter deck. Just me. And it's the Badass Tarot. And the reason why I'll be using this deck this time of year, I think we got some title cards. Yes, and an extra. Okay. Okay. Oh, well, black and white. Okay, fine. Festive. I want to say iridescent, holographic. That's what it is. Holographic sides. Now, the actual cards themselves, aside from the black border, they're pretty colorful. They're pretty snazzy and jazzy. They've got lots going on. I would not say the actual card drawings themselves are winter at all. However, this was a purchase that I made for myself for my 40th birthday last year. Whoops, let's not look at that one. And the reason I bought it for my 40th birthday was because I'm an Aquarius baby and this deck gives me Aquarius vibes big time. And because my birthday is in February, this is going to be, oh, there's a New Year's card if I ever saw one. This is going to be used for the month of February for me. This is going to be my birthday vibe deck going forward. And I definitely use this deck outside of February. I don't just use it in the month of February. But for me, that's the relationship I want to have with this deck. This is my, I don't know, coming closer to middle age era, screw everything, screw everyone vibes. So yeah, that's when this deck is going to get used. Now, my birthday is early in February, so I'll probably start using it around the last week in January, maybe even for like a New Year's reading. This is giving me, I don't know, it's just so fun and funky. And I don't have another deck that makes me feel the way that this one does. They have another, oops, we won't spend too much time on that one either. They have another version of this deck, which I would also like, but it's super expensive. Maybe I'll do it for my 41st birthday. I don't know. Oh, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Like, this is just so funny. The court cards, I think, are better in the other version. So, or in the, it's not necessarily another version, it's just it's the other deck. Everything else is fairly similar, but there we go. That is that. That's the decks that I will be using in the coming months and some into the spring. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you in my next surprise stats video that'll be coming up. Oof. I don't know. I'm not ready to do it because, like I said, I'm still collecting the information that I'm using to create this statistical masterpiece. So I don't know. It'll happen. It'll happen in the month of December, and I will see you then.